Welcome to Motivational Humanity. You are not alone. How many times have you let someone's choices decide your life and wondered why nothing changes? Today, you'll discover how choosing yourself first finally breaks the cycle. Awareness begins with noticing the quiet moments when you feel drained, small, or unseen. It's in the repeated situations that make your heart sink, the patterns that seem to show up again and again, leaving you frustrated or hurt. Often we overlook these signs because they feel ordinary or because we tell ourselves it's easier to ignore them. But every time you tolerate what doesn't serve you, you are unknowingly giving permission for it to continue. Life has a way of holding up a mirror, showing us exactly where we've been bending too far, saying yes when we wanted to say no, and placing the needs of others above our own. The truth is, these moments are not punishments, they are signals, gentle reminders that change begins with recognition. You can start simply by pausing and asking yourself, where do I feel drained? Where have I been silently accepting less than I deserve? Awareness is the act of naming what has been hidden, of stepping back from the chaos long enough to see your life clearly. It's noticing the patterns, feeling the discomfort without judgment, and understanding that acknowledging them is the first courageous step toward freedom. One reflective truth holds steady through it all. Every repeated disappointment is a mirror showing exactly where your boundaries have been overlooked. The practical way to begin is small but powerful. Write down one situation, one pattern, or one relationship where you feel your energy repeatedly drained and see it honestly. Once you see it, the choice becomes yours. Awareness doesn't demand immediate action, but it plants the seed, allows you to choose differently, to finally stand in your own power, and to stop letting what you allow define your life. Vulnerability is one of the most misunderstood and feared parts of being human. Most of us have been conditioned to think that showing our inner struggles, our doubts, and our deepest feelings is a weakness. From a young age, we are taught to hide what scares us, to bury our pain under a mask of composure, to present a face of certainty to the world. But the truth is, vulnerability is not weakness. It is the birthplace of courage, connection, and growth. It is where we meet our truest selves, where we understand the depth of our own hearts, and where we begin to reclaim the power that has been quietly slipping away when we refuse to face what is real. There is a profound difference between simply feeling pain and acknowledging it. Many people spend their lives running from discomfort, distracting themselves with work, social media, or endless obligations, so they never have to confront the quiet, aching truths inside. The fear of being judged, of being rejected, of being seen as too sensitive or too emotional keeps us in hiding. But this avoidance comes at a cost. When we refuse to face our own hearts, we slowly start to feel disconnected from ourselves. We become strangers in our own lives, watching time pass by while carrying a weight we never fully name. Vulnerability is the act of turning toward that weight, of letting ourselves feel it without shame or resistance, and of trusting that our hearts are capable of holding even the most uncomfortable truths. To be vulnerable is to face the parts of yourself that you have tried to ignore. It is sitting with the fear of not being enough, of not being loved, of being overlooked or abandoned. It is admitting to yourself quietly and honestly that there are moments when you feel small, fragile, or afraid. Vulnerability requires courage because it asks us to drop the pretense that everything is fine. It asks us to say, I am hurting, I am scared, I am unsure, I am not perfect. It is a radical act of honesty in a world that constantly tells us to perform, to conform, to hide our true selves behind masks of competence and confidence. The inner struggle that vulnerability confronts is both universal and deeply personal. It is the fear that if people truly saw us, they would turn away. It is the shame that whispers, you shouldn't feel this way, or there is something wrong with you for being weak. Many of us carry a quiet terror of being misunderstood or dismissed, of being the one who cannot measure to expectations, our own or those of others. But the paradox of vulnerability is that by embracing it, we discover that we are not as fragile as we imagined. By acknowledging our fears, our pain, and our doubts, we create space for authenticity and real connection. It is in these moments that we realize we are enough, exactly as we are, and that our humanity is not something to hide, but something to honor. Facing your heart is also about recognizing the patterns that keep you from choosing yourself fully. Often we seek comfort outside ourselves, looking for validation or approval from others to feel worthy. We apologize for our feelings, diminish our needs, and suppress our desires because we fear that expressing them might upset someone or create conflict. This habit quietly erodes our self-worth, leaving us feeling empty, resentful, or invisible. Vulnerability is the opposite of this avoidance. It is the willingness to turn inward, to say to yourself, I see you, I feel you, your pain matters, your voice matters. It is choosing to honor your inner life, even when it feels uncomfortable or frightening. The process of facing your heart is not a single moment of revelation. It is a practice, a daily commitment to emotional honesty. It begins with small steps, noticing the feelings that arise in difficult situations, naming them without judgment, and allowing yourself to feel them fully. It means observing your reactions, your fears, and your desires with curiosity rather than criticism. It means recognizing the moments when you shrink or hide and asking, what am I afraid of? What do I need to acknowledge? Over time, these small acts of self-recognition accumulate, and you begin to see patterns, truths, and insights that were previously invisible. You start to understand the ways in which you have tolerated less than you deserve, the ways in which you have silenced yourself, and the ways in which your own love and care have been postponed in favor of pleasing or protecting others. There is also a deep relational aspect to vulnerability. It is through vulnerability that we build meaningful connections with others. When we allow ourselves to be seen, truly seen, we invite others to do the same. This does not mean that everyone deserves access to our innermost selves, but it does mean that selective openness shared with those who respect and care for us creates bonds that are unshakable. When we express our authentic emotions, even if it is just a whisper of doubt or fear, we show others that it is safe to do the same. In this way, vulnerability is a gift, not only to ourselves, but to the people around us. It is how empathy grows, how trust is built, and how love finds fertile ground. Many people resist vulnerability because they equate it with weakness or loss of control. But true strength lies in the ability to confront uncertainty, to admit that you do not have all the answers, and to acknowledge your imperfections without shame. Courage and vulnerability are inseparable. You cannot have one without the other. It takes courage to face the truth of your heart, to sit with the discomfort of unmet expectations, to confront past wounds, and to speak your truth even when it trembles. But every act of vulnerability strengthens your resilience, your clarity, and your sense of self. It teaches you that your heart is capable of surviving what you feared would destroy it. Practical reflection in this practice can take simple but profound forms. Begin by identifying one area of your life where you have been hiding, avoiding, or silencing. Your emotions. Perhaps it is a relationship in which you have not spoken your truth. Perhaps it is a fear you have refused to face, a longing you have neglected, or a shame you have carried silently. Sit with it. Write it down. Speak it quietly to yourself. Allow yourself to feel the fear, the uncertainty, and the discomfort without judgment. Notice what happens in your body. The tension, the tightness, the fluttering in your chest, and breathe through it. This is the beginning of authentic self-acknowledgement. Over time, you can expand this practice to more areas of your life, gradually allowing yourself to engage with your feelings fully and without apology. Facing your heart is not about immediate transformation or instant relief. It is about creating a consistent habit of emotional honesty, a willingness to bear witness to your own life. It is about breaking the cycle of avoidance that keeps you small and disconnected. It is about recognizing that the discomfort of vulnerability is temporary, but the clarity, freedom, and self-respect that follow are lasting. Each time you choose to feel what you have been avoiding, to speak what you have been silent about, and to honor your own emotional truth, you grow stronger, more compassionate, and more fully alive. The most profound realization in this journey is that your heart is resilient. It can withstand the truth it has long hidden, the fears it has long avoided, and the doubts it has long carried. By turning toward yourself, by facing your heart with curiosity and courage, you begin to rewrite the relationship you have with yourself. You learn that your emotions are not enemies, but guides, pointing you toward what you value, what you need, and what is essential for your growth. Vulnerability becomes not a burden, but a path toward clarity, self-respect, and authentic connection with the world. There is a quiet, enduring power in vulnerability. It is the power to reclaim your life from fear, to step out of patterns of self-denial and to live with intention. It is the power to recognize your needs without shame, to voice your truth without apology, and to honor your own journey without comparison. Every moment spent in vulnerability is a moment spent in courage, in presence, and in profound self-respect. By facing your heart fully, you discover that what you feared would break you only makes you stronger, wiser, and more alive. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, life begins to shift. Boundaries are honored, choices are made with clarity, and your sense of worth no longer depends on external validation but rests firmly within you. Vulnerability is not a one-time act, it is a lifelong practice. It is woven into the way we experience love, loss, failure, success, and growth. Each time we lean into our discomfort, name our feelings, and speak our truth, we reinforce the courage within us. It is the quiet, steady force that teaches us that being seen, being felt, and being heard, first by ourselves, is the foundation of a meaningful life. And in this practice, we come to understand that the heart we once feared confronting is the very source of our power, our wisdom, and our freedom. Courage is not always the loud, dramatic act we imagine. It is not always standing on a stage or performing a heroic deed. Often, courage is quiet, subtle, and deeply personal. It lives in the small choices we make every day, the ones that whisper to our hearts, asking us to honor ourselves when the world is asking something else. Choosing yourself is one of the most profound acts of courage a person can commit because it requires seeing your own worth clearly and refusing to let fear, guilt, or obligation override it. It asks you to stand firm in the truth of who you are, even when everything inside you doubts your value or fears the consequences of standing alone. Many of us spend years bending to the expectations of others. We sacrifice our needs, our time, and sometimes even our dreams, believing that it is easier to please, to comply, or to keep the peace. We tell ourselves that this is love, that this is loyalty, or that this is responsibility, yet deep down, something within us quietly resists. There is a persistent voice whispering, I deserve more, I deserve to be seen, I deserve to honor myself. Courage is the act of listening to that voice, even when it makes your chest tighten and your stomach knot with anxiety. It is choosing to step into uncertainty because the alternative, silencing yourself, is far more damaging. The inner struggle of choosing yourself is real and pervasive. Fear sits heavily on the shoulders of those who dare to prioritize themselves. Fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of failure, and fear of losing connection with those we love all compete against the quiet longing to assert our own needs. Many people carry the weight of guilt, believing that asserting boundaries or putting themselves first is selfish. But choosing yourself is not selfish, it is essential. It is an act of self-respect, an acknowledgement that your life, your energy, and your heart are worthy of protection. Without this courage, patterns repeat, opportunities slip away, and we drift further from the person we are meant to be. Choosing yourself often requires confronting the familiar voices that have influenced your life. Voices from family, friends, society, or even your own inner critic. These voices can be insidious, reminding you of all the reasons you shouldn't claim your own space, your own time, or your own voice. The courage to choose yourself means saying, quietly but firmly, I am enough. My needs matter. My presence matters. My life matters. It is a defiance of the invisible chains that have kept you small, a declaration that your worth does not depend on approval or permission. It is standing in the quiet, sometimes lonely place where you recognize that your value is inherent and then acting in alignment with that truth. There is also an undeniable power in recognizing that choosing yourself is not about cutting people out or abandoning responsibility. It is about clarity and integrity. When you honor your own needs, you are better equipped to show up authentically for others. You are no longer acting from a place of depletion, obligation, or resentment. Instead, every act of courage, every boundary you set, every no you speak, every step you take toward your own growth builds resilience and strengthens your sense of self. Courage is not a one-time leap. It is the collection of small, consistent choices that reinforce the truth that you matter. The practical path to this courage begins with small, deliberate actions. Start by noticing where you have been saying yes when your heart wanted to say no. Pay attention to situations where you feel drained, overlooked, or resentful. Each time you identify one of these moments, take a simple, empowering step. Assert a boundary, speak your truth, or make a choice that aligns with your values. The act does not have to be dramatic. Even a quiet no can ripple through your life with enormous impact. Over time, these small acts accumulate, and what once felt frightening becomes familiar, natural, and even freeing. Choosing yourself is also about facing the uncertainty that accompanies it. Life rarely offers guarantees when we step into courage. Relationships may shift, people may react in ways we cannot control, and the future may feel uncertain. But courage is not the absence of fear, it is acting despite fear. Each time you choose yourself, you prove to yourself that your strength and worth are not dependent on external outcomes. The world may resist, but your heart knows the truth. Honoring yourself is the only way to live fully, honestly, and sustainably. There is a deep transformation that occurs when you consistently choose yourself. You begin to notice patterns you once tolerated and find the clarity to step away from them. You see the relationships, habits, and environments that no longer serve you, and you feel the courage to make different choices. You discover that life does not crumble when you assert your worth. Instead, it expands. Your presence becomes stronger, more grounded, and more aligned with who you truly are. Courage, in this sense, is both liberation and empowerment. It is the bridge between surviving and thriving. A reflective truth emerges. Every act of choosing yourself reverberates far beyond the moment. It teaches others that their own needs matter. It reshapes the way you are treated because you signal that your boundaries are not negotiable. It transforms the internal dialogue from self-doubt to self-respect. Courage, therefore, is contagious. It begins within, but it inevitably affects the world around you. The simple act of standing up for yourself teaches your heart, your mind, and your soul that you are worthy of care, attention, and love, not because of what you do for others, but because of who you are. The practice of choosing yourself is ongoing. Each day offers new opportunities to exercise this courage, to speak your truth in difficult conversations, to step away from toxic patterns, to prioritize your own growth, and to honor your emotional and physical well-being. Each small choice compounds, creating a life that is authentic, balanced, and deeply satisfying. There is no finish line. Courage is not a goal, but a lifelong companion. The more you embrace it, the more your life begins to reflect the truth that you are worthy attention, care, and respect, always, regardless of circumstance. Ultimately, choosing yourself is a declaration of your existence. It is a promise to your own heart that you will not diminish, compromise, or settle for less than your true worth. It is a commitment to live fully, authentically, and intentionally, even in the face of fear, doubt, and uncertainty. And in choosing yourself, you create the conditions for a life that is not dictated by others' expectations, but guided by the clarity of your own heart, the strength of your own courage, and the unwavering knowledge that you deserve everything you are willing to fight for. Change is often one of the most feared and resisted experiences in life, yet it is also the most inevitable and the most transformative. Many people live years, sometimes decades, bound by patterns that no longer serve them, trapped by the repetition of familiar routines, behaviors, and relationships. These patterns often feel safe because they are known, even when they cause pain. But comfort that comes at the cost of growth is a silent prison. The first step toward rewriting your story is acknowledging the chapters that no longer serve you. It requires courage to look back at the paths you have walked, the choices you have made, and the circumstances you have endured, and to see them with clarity, honesty, and without judgment. Change begins with awareness, but it moves deeper when you realize that the narrative you have been living is not fixed. Your story is not dictated by your past mistakes, your regrets, or the limitations imposed by others. Every day offers a new page, a new opportunity to alter the course of your life. Rewriting your story means recognizing the power you have always held but may have neglected, the power to decide how you respond, who you allow in your life, and what patterns you choose to continue or release. It is a profound act of reclamation, a way of stepping out of autopilot and choosing intentionality over habit. The inner struggle with change is deeply human. Fear, doubt, and uncertainty often rise up to challenge every step forward. You may worry about whether you are strong enough to make a shift, whether people will accept it, or whether you will be able to maintain it once you begin. The past can feel like an invisible weight, whispering that things are just the way they are, that people cannot change, that life is fixed and unyielding. This struggle is real, and it is felt in the tightness of your chest, the hesitation in your voice, and the anxious thoughts that cloud your mind. Yet within this struggle lies the exact space where transformation begins. Rewriting your story requires confronting the truth of where you have allowed yourself to be diminished, silenced, or overlooked. It asks you to examine the choices that have led to pain or stagnation and to decide consciously that these patterns will no longer define you. This is not about erasing the past. It is about integrating it, learning from it, and then deliberately moving in a direction that aligns with your values, desires, and authentic self. Change is not punishment for what has been. It is an invitation to create what can be. One of the most challenging aspects of change is letting go of the familiar, even when it is harmful. Habits, relationships, or routines that once provided comfort can become chains that keep you tethered to limitation. The mind often resists letting go because it fears the unknown. But the truth is that growth rarely exists within the confines of familiarity. To change, you must allow yourself to step into uncertainty, trusting that the discomfort you feel is temporary and necessary. Every act of courage to release the old paves the way for the new, and in that space, possibility begins to emerge. The process of rewriting your story is both internal and external. Internally, it requires self-reflection, honest questioning, and the willingness to challenge long-held beliefs. Externally, it demands action, decisions that align with the truth you are discovering within. It might mean setting new boundaries, walking away from relationships that drain your spirit, pursuing opportunities you previously thought impossible, or cultivating habits that honor your well-being. The alignment between what you believe about yourself and how you act in the world is what transforms. Change from an idea into a lived reality. A practical way to begin is by identifying one chapter of your life where you feel stuck, one area where patterns repeat, and one choice that no longer reflects your highest self. Then ask yourself, what would I do differently if I believed I was worthy of respect, love, and freedom? What action, no matter how small, could I take today to begin shifting the narrative? This could be as simple as speaking up in a situation where you normally remain silent, as bold as leaving a toxic relationship, or as subtle as changing a daily habit that keeps you in a state of compromise. Change often starts with small, intentional steps that ripple outward, gradually reshaping the story you live. The beauty of rewriting your story is that it teaches you that you are never powerless. No matter what has happened, no matter how many times you have failed, you always have the capacity to choose differently. Each decision to honor yourself, each act of courage, and each moment of awareness builds momentum. Over time, the accumulation of these choices transforms your life in ways that feel both natural and miraculous. Change is not about becoming someone new. It is about uncovering the person you were always meant to be, buried beneath fear, doubt, and the weight of others' expectations. There is also a profound emotional truth in this process. Change is never linear. You will stumble, retreat, and question yourself along the way. You may feel the pull of old patterns and the weight of past narratives trying to reclaim their hold. This is not failure. It is the natural rhythm of growth. Each time you return to your intention, each time you recommit to choosing yourself and shaping your own story, you reinforce the muscle of resilience and the clarity of your path. Patience, compassion, and persistence become your allies. Rewriting your story is an act of self-respect and love. It is a recognition that you are worthy of a life that reflects your values, desires, and truth. It is a moment when you stop blaming the past, stop waiting for others to change, and stop believing that your life is dictated by circumstances beyond your control. You reclaim your power, your voice, and your choices. You begin to live intentionally, guided by the understanding that your story is yours to write and that the pen is in your hand every single day. A reflective truth emerges. Life will always offer moments to return to old patterns, to follow the path of least resistance, or to surrender to fear. But each moment also presents an opportunity to act consciously, to write a different page, to craft a narrative that honors your heart. The act of choosing change, even when it is uncomfortable, signals to yourself and the world that your life matters, that your dreams matter, and that your presence is worthy of respect. Every small step toward rewriting your story is a declaration of courage, self-worth, and possibility. Change is the bridge between the life you have been living and the life you are capable of creating. It is a daily practice, a commitment to self-awareness, courage, and intentional action. Each choice you make, each boundary you assert, and each act of honesty with yourself contributes to a larger narrative, one where you are empowered, resilient, and fully alive. As you rewrite your story, you come to see that life is not something that happens to you, it is something you actively shape. The chapters of pain, regret, or limitation are not erased. They are honored, integrated, and transformed into lessons that guide your steps forward. Ultimately, rewriting your story is not about perfection, it is about alignment. It is about stepping into a life that resonates with your truth, honoring your heart, and moving forward with courage. The transformation that arises from this choice is subtle but profound. You begin to notice freedom where there was once confinement, clarity where there was confusion, and possibility where there was fear. And slowly, imperceptibly at first, your life begins to reflect the story you were always meant to live. One choice at a time, one act of courage at a time, and one moment of self-respect at a time. Growth is the culmination of awareness, vulnerability, courage, and change. It is the quiet, persistent unfolding of the self when we begin to honor our own worth and take ownership of our lives. Growth is not a destination, it is a journey, a lifelong process of evolving into the person we were always capable of becoming. It requires patience, persistence, and a willingness to sit with discomfort, uncertainty, and even fear. To embrace growth is to embrace freedom. The freedom to live authentically, to define your own path, and to release the constraints that have held you back. Many people struggle with the idea of growth because it often requires leaving behind the familiar. Change, even positive change, can feel threatening because it asks us to step into the unknown. We cling to old habits, relationships, and identities because they are comfortable even when they no longer serve us. Growth asks us to shed these layers not as punishment, but as liberation. It asks us to release what no longer aligns with our highest selves, to stop tolerating what diminishes us, and to create space for new possibilities. Freedom and growth are inseparable. You cannot truly grow without allowing yourself to be free, and you cannot fully embrace freedom without committing to growth. The inner struggle of growth is both subtle and profound. It is the quiet fear that emerges when you imagine leaving behind patterns, routines, or people that have defined your life for years. It is the self-doubt that questions whether you are capable of sustaining change, of honoring your own boundaries, and of stepping into the person you are meant to be. It is the whisper of old narratives, you can't do this, you're not ready, you might fail, that can tempt you to retreat into safety. Growth, however, asks you to listen to a different voice, the one that says, I am capable, I am worthy, I am ready. It is the voice that urges you forward, gently but persistently, even when the path is uncertain. Embracing freedom begins with self-trust. It is the realization that your life belongs to you and that your choices define the quality of your experience. When you allow yourself to grow, you begin to trust your intuition, your judgment, and your heart. You recognize that external validation is not a prerequisite for your worth, and that your ability to honor yourself is the foundation of a fulfilling life. Growth is the process of claiming this trust, of stepping into a life where you are no longer governed by fear, expectation, or obligation, but guided by your own values, passions, and vision. A crucial aspect of growth is understanding that it is not linear. There will be moments of doubt, setbacks, and even regressions. Growth asks for patience, for the willingness to stand up each time you falter, and for compassion toward yourself in the process. Each challenge, each mistake, each difficult decision becomes a teacher, revealing insights about your resilience, priorities, and capacity for self-love. Embracing these lessons rather than resisting them is what transforms obstacles into opportunities and fear into fuel for personal evolution. Practically, embracing growth can take many forms. It may involve setting new boundaries that protect your energy, pursuing goals that reflect your passions rather than external expectations, or cultivating habits that nourish your mind, body, and soul. It could mean ending relationships that drain you, forgiving yourself for past mistakes, or stepping into new experiences that challenge you to stretch beyond comfort. Every deliberate choice that aligns with your authentic self is an act of growth. And with each act, freedom becomes more tangible and real. Growth also involves embracing your own story fully, the triumphs, the failures, the pain, and the joy. It is the recognition that your experiences, no matter how difficult, have shaped your wisdom, resilience, and perspective. When you honor your journey, you release shame and self-judgment, allowing yourself to step forward with confidence and clarity. Freedom emerges when you understand that the past does not define you, the opinions of others do not limit you, and the expectations placed upon you do not dictate your life. You are free to define who you are, what you value, and the legacy you wish to create. There is also a profound emotional liberation and growth. As you begin to embrace freedom, you notice that fear loses its grip. Decisions that once felt impossible become possible. Your heart becomes lighter and the world feels more expansive. Growth allows you to experience life fully with all its uncertainty, beauty, and complexity. It teaches you to celebrate progress rather than perfection, to honor effort rather than outcome, and to trust the unfolding of your journey. Freedom, in this sense, is not the absence of challenges, but the presence of confidence, clarity, and self-respect in navigating them. A reflective truth emerges. Growth is ultimately an act of love for yourself, for your life, and for the world around you. It is the recognition that by honoring your own needs, cultivating your own strength, and claiming your own freedom, you also create the capacity to love, support, and inspire others authentically. Freedom is not selfish. It is the foundation for meaningful contribution and genuine connection. Every step you take toward growth reinforces this cycle, expanding your life and the lives of those around you in ways that are subtle, profound, and lasting. Embracing growth also means living intentionally. It is the conscious choice to pursue what matters, to let go of what does not, and to cultivate the inner courage to face whatever comes your way. Life will continue to present challenges, disappointments, and moments of fear, but growth equips you with the resilience, perspective, and clarity to navigate them with grace. Each act of intentionality strengthens your sense of self and deepens your connection to your purpose. Freedom, therefore, is not given. It is claimed, nurtured, and protected through daily acts of courage, awareness, and self-honesty. Ultimately, growth and freedom are intertwined threads of the same fabric. To embrace one is to embrace the other. Growth is the process by which you learn to honor yourself, face your fears, and step into the life you are capable of living. Freedom is the reward, the sense of expansiveness and possibility that arises when you live in alignment with your values, your truth, and your highest self. Together, they create a life that is not dictated by circumstances, people, or fear, but guided by your own clarity, courage, and authenticity. As you embrace growth, you begin to see life differently. Each moment becomes an opportunity to learn, to evolve, and to deepen your understanding of yourself and the world. You notice the beauty in small victories, the lessons in challenges, and the strength within yourself that you may have long overlooked. Freedom becomes a lived experience rather than a distant aspiration, and the life you once imagined, one filled with clarity, purpose, and authenticity, gradually unfolds before you. Growth is not a finite goal, nor is freedom a permanent state. They are continuous, evolving, and reflective of the choices you make each day. Every moment you commit to honoring yourself, every step you take toward releasing fear, and every decision you make in alignment with your truth strengthens both your growth and your freedom. Over time, the accumulation of these choices transforms your life into one that feels expansive, meaningful, and profoundly yours. And in this realization, a quiet but undeniable truth settles in. Your freedom was never outside of you. It has always existed within, waiting for the courage, awareness, and commitment to growth to uncover it. By embracing your journey fully, nurturing your own potential, and trusting your heart, you step into a life that is authentically, unapologetically, and beautifully yours.